The point of a debate or argument isn't to find the truth, it's to prove yourself right at any cost. That's how some people approach an argument. Think back to a situation where you knew yourself to be right, but your argument was blown apart by your opponent. Then you're confused, wondering how you could possibly have lost. You've probably seen it in politics too. You don't need to be right to win an argument, you just need the right techniques. These techniques are a powerful weapon, and like all weapons, they can be used to attack or defend. So even if you are not the sort of person to use underhand methods to win an argument, when you know you're wrong, you will encounter many people that do that. And by knowing these techniques, you'll be able to defend yourself against unscrupulous operators who want to persuade, control, and bamboozle you into their way of thinking. Many of the methods I'm about to show you were known to the ancient Greeks. The sophists would teach their tricks to young noblemen who wanted to know how to win political arguments. The term sophistry comes from the sophists, and its definition is telling too. The clever use of arguments that seem true but are really false in order to deceive people. I'll show you the methods now, but unlike the sophists of ancient Greece, I won't be charging you a fee. In 1831, this man wrote this essay. Well, essay, treatise, call it what you will. He was the German philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer, and his work, The Art of Being Right, 38 Ways to Win an Argument, is a guide for the unwary into the dark art of manipulating the truth. It's an amusing text, and I recommend you read it. But if you want to find out some of the most effective of its techniques, then keep watching, because here they come. Exaggerate to absurdity. Remember, you want to make your opponent look ridiculous and undermine them, and nothing is beneath you. One of your first tactics is to ridicule their position by building an effigy or caricature of their argument, one that is much more easily defeated. So let's say you and I are discussing education, and you make the reasonable point that music is an important subject and could help wider learning and brain development. I disagree, and to make my point, I distort your argument by saying, "What? You want children as young as 7 to be forced to listen to Olivia Rodrigo?" It's much easier for me to argue against this than your very reasonable original point. You'll see this used frequently. Some people deploy it without even realizing, but now you know about it, you can call it out. Similar to the previous strawman argument is the Motte and Bailey, except this time, instead of making your argument ridiculous, I'm making mine seem reasonable. Let's say I hold the view that people should require a permit if they want to wear red trousers. This is the Bailey part of my argument, difficult to defend. When you call me out on it, I retreat to my Motte by saying it's perfectly reasonable that red trouser-wearing soldiers bearing a polearm should need a permit. I can later revert to the original claim. Make them angry. Remember, you don't care about the truth, only about the win. Another tactic in your arsenal is to make your opponent angry. This will give the perception to your audience that you have the moral authority, because the person getting worked up obviously has the weaker argument, don't they? Interrupt them, divert them, politely insult them, question their expertise, their intellect, talk down to them and make fun of them. Once angry, not only are they perceived as less authoritative, they're less capable of analytical thought, giving you an easier win. Concede a small point and then generalize. This is a favourite of the unscrupulous debater. Imagine you hold the view that speed limits in built-up areas should be reduced to 20 miles an hour, and I'm arguing they should be 40 miles an hour. Currently in the UK, they're usually 30. I might say to you, are you telling me that reducing the limit to 20 miles an hour would eradicate all risk of injury? Your opponent, who is not a sophist, will say, no. You then use that admission as evidence that it doesn't reduce the risk at all and that he's simply at war with the motorist. Which brings me to the next method. The phrase "at war with the motorist" is my metaphor, not yours. You're arguing for speed restrictions and I'm arguing against them. If I'm only interested in the win, then it's in my interest to make your position sound as negative and unappealing as possible. The phrase "at war with" creates a negative perception around your proposal. It makes it sound extreme and unreasonable, and it will resonate with the audience's bias against war, and that bias is now transferring to you and your argument. This ties in very nicely with Schopenhauer's next point. Persuade the audience, not the opponent. This is used a lot in TV debates and online, where you have an audience. My opponent is an expert, but the audience isn't, which means it's easier to persuade the audience. In fact, if I only want to win in the mind of the audience, I only need worry about convincing them. Never mind that what I say is untrue. It might be invalid to the expert, but to the audience it could seem like the perfect put-down, especially if to refute it requires nuance and time and a long explanation. 10 people died after taking this medication, therefore it must be unsafe, might seem convincing to a lay audience, which is good enough for me if I'm relying on chicanery and subterfuge. If all else fails, make stuff up and then declare yourself the winner. If you'd like to find out more about the techniques, then search for Schopenhauer's original essay. In a world where emotive stories spread quickly and debate is polarised and someone's always trying to sell you their ideas or products, being aware of these techniques is essential. Who's after your attention or trying to manipulate you, and why?
I'm always on the lookout for innovative, interesting and interactive ways to learn, which is why I love Brilliant.org, the sponsor of this video. Brilliant is where you learn by doing, with thousands of interactive lessons in math, data analysis, programming and AI. You know the most effective way to learn, don't you? You should. I've been talking about it for years on this channel. It's doing and problem solving. And that's why Brilliant's so good. Brilliant's platform is built around these principles. You grow your understanding from first principles with hands-on interactive problem solving. It teaches you to think, and it's far more effective than just watching videos. It'll also help you to develop a daily learning habit, and the cumulative effect of that is huge. Look at this. Brilliant recently launched a stack of new data science content, all of which uses real-world data to train you to see trends and make better informed decisions. Perfect for learners of any level to start or continue learning data analysis with a full suite of new content covering topics like data visualization, algorithms, and regression models. To see how far you could go and to try everything Brilliant has to offer free for a full 30 days, go to brilliant.org/Python programmer or scan the QR code or click on the link in the description. You'll also get 20% off an annual premium subscription.